Hello everyone, Daniel Kerr here. So today we're going to be doing some melodic techno or progressive house in the Korg ESX. We're going to be using a pack that I have released, link in the description, but you do not need this pack to make these patterns or to use this technique, right? The first technique that I'm going to show you is how to basically make a collection of .esx files or project files that will go onto your card, and you can name them drums and synths and bass or whatever. And those project files will be full of that category. And basically, I'm going to show you how you can audition samples from those packs and load them as you need them. So as you can see, the first thing I'm going to do on here is I'm going to turn off the entire machine, and I'm going to hold down solo and right and turn it back on, and that initializes the machine and asks, are you sure? And as soon as I hit that play button and I am sure, then it takes a bit of loading time. And then after it's loaded, you go to sample and you'll see there's no sample data and no project data. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tempo to 123. Okay, I've been really enamored of that 120 to 130 range. And then the very next thing you'll see is that I'm making a 1-bar pattern. Okay, now a 1-bar pattern, the reason for that is because for techno, my writing style, now we do want to take full advantage of the 8 bars of the Korg ESX, or whatever the bar length maximum is for whatever groove box you might be using. You definitely, we want to use all that, but for the first pattern or just to get some hypnotic rhythms going, I find that a 1-bar pattern is perfect for me just to get started. So I'll show you what I mean by that as we move on. Now I'm going to go to global. I'm going to hold down shift and pad 16. It takes me to the load menu. Yes, load. But instead of load all, we want to change it to ES sample, okay? And what that's going to allow, it's going to allow me to listen to or to scroll through a list of all the project files that are on this card and choose samples from one of them and even audition them first, okay? So yes, and now I have all my project files. Now I'm going to scroll all the way to the end, okay? Up until I started using this technique, I would have said that the SD card version of the ESX and the Smart Media card version of the ESX are exactly the same, and that it doesn't really matter because in each project you can only load the same amount of sample memory. But I was a bit wrong because the SD card version of the ESX will allow me to have up to 99 full ESX files that I can draw from, right, as a huge pool of resources. That is a big difference. I think it's significant. If I was going to buy another one today, I would search out an SD card version. However, even the Smart Media card version, you can still use this. You can still use this technique, and then on top of that, if your card is smaller or you have fewer project files on there, you won't have to scroll through a huge list every single time you want to do this like you just saw me do. So there are some advantages actually. I'm going to choose, well, I have bass 1 on this, I have bass 2, this is this pack I released, kit 1 and kit 2, which is all the drums and some other stuff. Next I think is synth 1 and synth 2, and then top loops, right? Now top loops are basically like chopped up and stretched loops that go, they're housey loops or techno-y, more housey loops that go over the top to kind of add some grooves. I'm going to choose kit 1. Yep, and then I can listen to the samples by pressing the play button. So I'm going to scroll through until I find a kick that I like. Grab a random one. Nice, got a little rumble. So I will load that to 000. Shift 16 again to go to load. ES sample. Choose one of the project files. Mine are all the way at the end. Kit 1 again. More kicks. That one's pretty heavy. Grab that one. Okay, so I'm going to load up some more drum sounds using this method. And now I'm going to grab some basses from another project file. And do it again. I want to scroll through and listen, find basses that I like. Got a little vocal formant fidget vibe on that one. And I'm going to grab a few more of these, and then I'll grab some synths. One more bass. Like it. Synth 1. Now these synth sounds are recorded usually a couple seconds. Some of them are plucky and they're pretty short, but most of them are extended notes, almost a bar basically, at 123 BPMs. So what I did was I recorded them in higher registers like C4 or C5 on the keyboard. That's so that if they're doubled, that's so that if you use lower notes in the lower octaves, then they're doubled. So a 2-second note at C4 when played at C3 will be 4 seconds, and played at C2 as a bass C1 maybe 8 seconds. So yeah, it's a good method for me to record the synths in the higher frequencies. And then after the synths, I'll choose some top loops. Scroll through these and listen to some of them. Like that one. As you can see, they're all chopped and stretched, right? All of these in the pack I keep chopped and stretched before I even put them on the card. So that's handy. So now I'm listening to the drums. I'm going to choose a drum hit. We're back in the patterns, right? I'm in the part edit right now. And as you already know, if you have a blank ESX pattern, they give you 1 bar, and in the first drum slot they give you 4 notes, the 4 on the floor. I like that kick. Now let's listen. All right. Now, right now, I'm going to go down to the accent, and I'm going to turn accent off for every instrument in the pattern, okay? And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to use accent. I'll go to accent now, and I'm going to remove these notes where the kick drum is, and I'm going to turn the level all the way up. That way, if I add accent to something in the future, it will automatically duck and give you a side chain, a pseudo side chain when the kick drum comes in. This is a technique that I developed on my own, and I've never seen another person use it before I talked about it in a video. Many years ago. Okay, so now I'm putting in some hi-hats. Use the arpeggiator a little. Over here, I'm messing with the length time. I've already changed the envelope, as you can see. I've changed the envelope from gate, well, now I'm on snare, but I had changed the envelope of that hi-hat from gate to slope to give it a release, right? And I do that a lot. I'll probably do it with the snare as well. So go ahead and watch. Trying to find the snare sounds that I loaded. Changing the start time there, as you can see. Mess with the pitch a little. Change the envelope. I'm going to add some compression. Now, in my Korg ESX patterns, the default for me is for the effects chain, effects 1 is the compressor. And the compressor in the ESX is generally pretty bad, but it's suitable for sending your snare drums through, or to bring out just a little bit of the higher frequency material that might be getting lost in the mix. It crisps up some things if you just want to bring it forward in the mix. So that's what I use it for. Effects 2 I generally set to chorus and flange, and I set it to a very, very slow speed and a tiny, tiny little bit of send. And I do that so that I can perform with it later. I do chain these and unchain them. Effects number 3 is usually BPM sync delay, right? And sometimes I change these. I change them to the terrible reverb or you know, all of this. None of this is set in stone, of course. Yeah, let's continue. Okay, so I'm dialing back the volume on this snare because I just added it to that compressor. And I can use that compressor to make it very, very punchy, very loud, but I don't. That's how with the sensitivity knob. Playing with the start point, playing with the pitch. Sounds more like a clap now. A lot of times I'll set these settings and then scroll through the different voices. Now, here I'm dialing back some of the high end of this snare, and I'm using the filter. And the reason why I do that is because I am 50 years old. Okay, I turned 50 in 32 days. I recognize that my ears don't hear high frequencies like they used to, all right? So what often happens, and especially with the Korg ESX, is that those highs, they come through really, really sharply. So I've just kind of tended to dial back some of the high frequencies using a filter and then listen later. And what's funny is after I create these sets, I know everyone wants to go DAWless, but I run the output into Ableton and I look at it through Voxengo Span or other spectral analyzer. And I adjust these instruments as needed before I record a set, before I save for a performance. Like, it's really, really important. So yeah, I'm dialing back some of the high frequencies on the snare. I'm going to do it later with the hats and with the top loops. And anyway, just watch. Go to the hi-hats and pull back some of that cutoff just to cut some of the high frequencies. Now we're going to add a bass. And it looks like I'm using one of the synths. As you'll see, because it's a 1-bar loop, I often just start adding notes seemingly haphazardly, and then define the note placements and things later. You know, take notes in or take notes out and put notes in, these sorts of things. And it's because of that, see? It's because of the 1-bar loop that allows me to easily do this. See, it's techno. It's already making me hypnotized. Just so we're clear, add in a synth. So just so we're clear, when you save it at 1 bar, if it's saved, you can extend it to 8 bars or however many bars you want to use, and it will automatically repeat up to, repeat itself up to that length. So basically, that's where once you've done this, I make it 8 bars or 4 bars, and then I can start adding more evolving and melodic elements that gives it, I don't know, I guess it's moving. It gives it all of its movement, gives it its active and organic nature. So let's just watch. Just one note, top loops. Now these, you can use the arpeggiator to enter these. Watch. And you can't even hear it. I'm trying to figure out why. It's just too low in the mix. So I end up sending these top loops to that compressor to bring out some of that, to move it forward in the mix. I can almost hear it there. Ah, there we go. Now some of the things I've done, it's messed with the pitch. I changed the envelope from gate to release, so that each one of the slices, I'm gonna put it all in here. So each one of the slices would have a tail. I shortened the slices. Beautiful. So I just wrote this. I'm gonna add a few more bass notes using the arpeggiator. Now, pull back some of that filter. Next thing I'm going to do, well, I'm messing with the gate methods and gate modes and gate values. I just wrote that pattern to number 2. So now I'm in number 2. And I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to double this from 1 bar to 2 bars. And I'm going to write it again. Now it's a 2-bar pattern. Another thing I'm going to do, coming here soon, is I'm going to give it some accent so that it ducks. Give it a little glide. Go to the accent and turn it on. You can already hear it ducking. Pull back the ducking just a tad, save that. At this point, I decided to add some synth notes, and I grabbed a few notes and used the arpeggiator. Just experimenting. many of the top elements, including the snare and including the top loops. Adding another kick drum. And this kick drum is going to have some rumble. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the right pitch. I'm going to solo this kick drum in a moment. And I'm going to use the amp modulation. I'm going to set it to saw wave. And I'm going to use a reverse value depth so that it fades in. I'm going to set it to 1/4 speed, BPM lock. There we go. And I'm going to add that. I added that to the compressor as well. So usually I use the compressor for the higher range stuff, but this time I use it for low range, kick, rumble. Like I said, nothing's set in stone. So I use that modulation, set it to amplitude, set it to BPM sync, 1/4 note speed, and then I set the waveform to sawtooth. And then I used a reverse value depth so that it fades in, like a slope up, if you will. And got another duck. Sounds good. I'm gonna write this thing to number 4. I should have written it to number 3, but while I was doing this, I didn't realize that I hadn't. Now I'm going back and forth between the patterns. What's interesting is when I'm writing, sometimes I'll try to remember, oh, did I write anything in slot number 6? Oh, I better write it in slot number 7. And then I do, and then I realize that 6 is still blank, which is what happened here with pattern 3. The thing is that it always turns out to be a blessing in the future because then I can add another part and stick it in there for transitions and these things. So yeah, we're just going to listen to some of these parts. Perform a little bit by muting kick drums. Chorus and flange. So this is a decent start in the next video in this series. Yep, there's going to be a series. We're going to get into more of the melodic elements and start writing parts for this. And then probably in a third video we'll work on some performance techniques, right? And how to get good transitions. See right there, I went to pattern 3 and it was it was empty. Oops. All right, so that concludes this thing. Yeah, go to ghostwrittenclips.com and check out the pack. Go to ghostwrittenclips.com, and if you go to ghostwrittenclips.com or ghostwrittenclips.com/shop, both of which have different items actually, if you purchase anything or even grab some of the free stuff that I have listed there, then I usually send you an email with a lot more free stuff. Also, if you sign up for the email list at ghostwrittenclips.com, you get free stuff instantly. So that's good. My email list is sometimes 3 emails a year, usually 2. So we're talking about you never get the daily email crap from me. Not saying that'll never happen. I just... I guess I'm a terrible marketer or something, but nonetheless, if you send me a message at snowmetaluniversity@gmail.com, I do answer you directly, right? Not a bot, it's me. And you can talk to me about anything. Anyway, I love you guys. Harvest season. My 50-year-old birthday is coming up, so my 50 years old skate video is going to be up. Hopefully it's good. Be blessed.